It is not them, it is you. And it's okay because it is a great thing. And let me tell you why. Great day, masters. Welcome to another episode. I'll jump right in. If you have been hearing people say the same thing about you, there's a behavior, there's a quality, there's a trait, there's a way that you react and behave. And these people are not the same people. They don't run in the same circles. They live across country, across different areas. The common denominator is you. It is you. And it's very possible that you need to look at some things. But here, I'm not going to give you this message in a way that you should feel bad about yourself or condemning yourself or self criticism, because the reality is we do that to ourselves so much already. That's not what this is. So the message is it is not them, it is you. And it's okay because it is a great thing. And let me tell you why. I remember that a lot of people were telling me things about myself that I felt that I needed to be defensive about. They were judging me, or I just felt like if I heard what they said and I wanted to remain friends, or I wanted to remain in that situation or the job or whatever it is, that how do I have to perform in order to keep their approval or validation of me? So if they're giving me feedback and they're telling me things, that must mean that I'm bad. That must mean that I'm not measuring up to the level of expectation that they might have of me. And it's very dangerous thinking because, one, you're giving the power to other people to validate who you are. And it also allows you and motivates you to create a version of you that is not honest. It's another layer that you're adding to yourself where people can't get to see you, the real you, regardless if they deserve to see that version of you or not, or if they want to see that version of you or not. In relationship, it's beautiful because we get to be connected. We get to have vulnerable, transparent relationships where we can feel safe to be seen. And when you don't feel that way, it is easy to put a mask on, especially if you're someone who is dealing with people pleasing. One of the pieces of feedback that I received, and I'm sharing this with you in case it's come up for you, and this was in the past, where they said, I wasn't sure that I could be safe with you. I wasn't sure if I could be myself with you. I knew I can handle your challenges and emotions and things that was happening, but I wasn't always sure that you could handle mine. And where they believed and knew that my intention was good. Your intention is good, but your impact misses the mark. And oftentimes it doesn't mean that you need to be perfect, because no one on earth is perfect. But we want to get to a place where your intention matches your impact as closely as possible. And so feedback at that time was given to me. And at this point, if you're watching this video, perhaps feedback has been given to you and you're interested in understanding, how do I digest this information while still accepting myself and being kind to myself and self-compassionate. And I say that this is a great thing because you get the opportunity to develop. This doesn't mean that their opinions are now on a pedestal higher than yours and you need to listen to everything that they're saying. You still take it through a fine-tooth comb, because the reality is hurt people, and everybody is growing in their own ways. But if you're hearing the same message from different people who are unrelated, it definitely is worth something that you should take a look into. Here's a couple of ways if you've struggled and maybe someone hasn't said feedback to you, or maybe you're questioning if that was feedback that was given or someone might want to give feedback to you. Here are some areas or ways that you can notice, I think there's something here that I need to look at. If you feel when you're giving feedback that you want to immediately constantly apologize, you are assuming the identity that you are a mistake, versus you either made a mistake or you and the person need to get clarity about what the situation was. You're assuming that you're apologizing and thinking that as you apologize more, the situation is going to become better. The reality is it won't. If you did something wrong, absolutely take accountability. You know it and they know it. Take accountability and apologize. But how you treat yourself in this era and this space is so important. And remember, you have made a mistake, but you get to learn from that lesson and you get to become better and use it as a stepping stool to build your confidence. This is not a moment for you to self-deprecate, for you to come down on yourself, for you to bow before the other person and say, you know what, you're right. This is a place for you to take accountability, hear the feedback, and listen to understand versus listen to respond. Another clue where you might be dealing with this is if you have fear that if you don't act the same way that they're asking you to, then they'll leave you. You will no longer have the relationship, you no longer have the job, you'll no longer have the thing. So there's this big fear that if I go against what they're saying and don't act in the way in what they're saying, then I will no longer have this relationship. And because I no longer have this relationship, I'm not worthy to have love or the good job or be in this situation, a better situation for me. So you put on a mask and you go into people pleasing or accommodating. And really, the people who are your true friends are not going to allow you to stay in that. They're going to call you out, hopefully lovingly, but with honesty. And they also want and recognize when you're not your full self. You know that you are not your full self. You know it. And we have to release this, I'm not sure about myself, I'm not sure who I am. I believe that you do know who you are. And I believe that there are situations, people, places, and things that come around to show us to believe more about who we genuinely are when we first even got on this earth. And life, because of life and experiences and things that just happen, we forget our true identity. So I claim that you do know who you are, and life and situations and sometimes conflict can make it fuzzy for you to fully hear who you are and be able to listen to feedback without thinking that you're a mistake or that you need to overly accommodate someone else. Another clue is you are afraid to really say how you feel and you're looking to control their responses. This is tricky. It's not tricky, it's subtle. You are afraid to lose the relationship, so you respond in a way that is more favorable to them, and you decide that I am going to lose this relationship if I'm completely honest. Newsflash, the relationships for you will allow you to have a space for grace and a space for honesty. In fact, they're going to want that because so many people are out here faking it that honesty is refreshing. Another clue is, I mentioned this a little bit before, is you start to put people on a pedestal as if their experiences, the things that they've done in life and who they are is well above you. You start to compare, like, well, this person seems like they have X, Y, and Z together. So because they have X, Y, and Z together, then my feelings may not be as valid and I need to just go ahead and listen. I need to abandon myself and take up the identity or the opinion of this other person. False. If anything, if you're with somebody who is a real one, and this is just in your intimate and close relationships, and maybe 50-50 on the jobs, because some things, it's a place where you go to get work, not necessarily a place to create and form friends. If you're lucky enough to have that experience and that's what you are in your, I'm speaking from a 9 to 5. If you're an entrepreneur, hopefully you're creating and building your community of people, of like-minded and like-hearted individuals. But I'll say 50-50 in the 9 to 5 corporate workspace. But being able to recognize that that person doesn't need to be on a pedestal, you don't either. They're human, you're human, and it's okay to make a mistake and it's okay to talk about things. Another piece is when people give you feedback or you feel like you've done something different or wrong, you start to do more. You start to pick up the new appointments, pick up the new projects, pick up the new thing. You make yourself busy to avoid, unsubconsciously avoid dealing with the issue. And what's happening is your heart knows that there's been something that's different, but your mind is constantly working in overwork and overflow, trying to just get you to operate when you really need to just calm and relax and sit down, right? And so these are the ways that if you are someone that you feel you've been given feedback, it's not them, it's not what they say, it's you. It's not them, it's you. And I'm giving you clues as to if these things have come up, then you're able to identify maybe this information is for me. The challenge is that you get defensive and avoidant behavior, and it's not helpful to you or those that you love. And you do it out of fear because you're not sure if by you being honest, if the consequences of your honesty are going to lead you destitute, leave you feeling alone, leave you feeling that you're not who you thought you were or who that relationship is. And that is the risk that you end up taking. But let me tell you something, just learned this from my coach. Your level of trust is directly aligned to your level of growth. The desire that you have to control other people and how they respond to you by giving them an answer that you think that they want to hear because of the feedback is a disservice to them and to you. It's not who you really are, and it's not what they really want if they cared enough to give you honest feedback. Another piece is you're interested in control. You can take the victim mode or the pity mode, the avoidance mode, the defensive mode, because you're not sure how to control the outcome and you feel unsafe. So these are different mechanisms and different ways that you try to self-sabotage or control the situation or the person when it's never been for you to control. It is fear bumping up against the worst possible thing that can ever happen. That's what's happening in your heart. That's what's happening in your mind. And the desire and the real need and real root is to know that you are safe. You are safe when you are given feedback that might be tough to hear. And this is if you got the feedback from someone lovingly or not, and I prefer that it be honest and lovingly, but if you know that there's something that you need to work on, even the people who gave you the feedback, they might be dealing with unforgiveness or defensiveness and distance with you because of how you treated them. Even inside of that, they are human too. So you might have to take a step back. You might have to reevaluate that relationship. It's okay. They're human too. But let me tell you, when I dealt with this, I felt like I had an emotional prison. Like I was living in an emotional prison. I felt like I could not be seen. I could not be heard. I could not be understood. I felt like everything was coming at me and trying to attack me, and I had to protect myself, right? I had to curl up and protect myself. It was a lie. And I'm telling you this, friends, because you get to be free from thinking that feedback is going to lead you out of options, out of being destitute, or thinking the consequences of giving or receiving feedback or taking feedback is going to leave you broken. I can tell you what it did for me though. It did break me. I had gotten to a place where I was so tired of just how I was living my own life. And I knew I needed to change. I was working on the change. I thought I was doing the things, but then I was confronted and it was painful. But can I tell you how amazing your God is? My God, he is so amazing, because the reality is that you are loved too much to stay the same. And while everyone might be upset with you, be distant with you, change up, your creator will never do that. And the reason that it's okay for you to have feedback that it's you and not them is because it took for me to be separated from my false identity of who I thought these people were and my attachment to them, almost like an idol, and putting them on a pedestal, my attachment to them, so that God can work on me, so that God can work on my heart. So it really is a gift in reverse, depending on how you like to look at it, that you're being given feedback that you're trying to unpack and trying to figure out, how do I take this? Because I care, but I don't want to beat myself up, or maybe I have already been beating myself up in this. I know this is not helping because I don't feel any better. I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel disconnected. It is painful. And the patterns that you have been keeping, I want to say that you are loved so much that it is time for those things, this very situation showed up so that you could be freed from it. And the best thing that you can do is face it. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. The first one is facing your fears of being offended or to offend. Say what you mean and mean what you say. I believe that you know what you feel. I believe that we at our core are aware of what we want and who we are. And we just have life, people, places, and situations just cause us to forget that. But remove the fear of offending and being offended. Of course, you want to treat people with respect in the way that you want to be treated, but say what's on your heart. Because being assertive in your language and being clear about what you mean can allow people to understand where you are and avoid misunderstandings. Being passive aggressive, defensive, being aggressive, having these other communication styles are doing injustice to yourself and to other people. So say what you mean and mean what you say. I brought up a feelings wheel in another video. If you're feeling like I don't know what to say, I'm trying to form my thoughts, I need language for what to say, look at your feelings wheel first to get an idea of what it is that you feel. Identify that feeling, recognize if you're judging, if you're angry, if it's more of a judgment feeling, if you're scared, or if you don't feel lack of safety. What is it that you feel that what emotion are you missing that's creating this feeling, right? And then go to the opposite side of the feelings wheel and look at the color that's the opposite color on the other side when your emotions are met, and see what the opposite will be. Is it more trusting? Is it accepting? So that can kind of give you a little bit of a guide. The next piece is listen to the feedback. Listen to it without judging it, without saying that it's good or bad, right or wrong. This is somebody else's feedback who has their own unique set of experiences, thoughts, and ways that they move. It's not really up to you how they decide to give you the information. You don't need to control their response to you. If they have something to say, listen to the feedback. Listen without trying to defend. Listen without trying to divert or make them wrong, or make yourself even further wrong and going into apology just to put a band-aid on the situation, because it's not going to heal the root. It's going to come back. You have to address it or it's going to come back. or be something or do more harm later on. So listen to the feedback and assess it. Am I really showing up like this? Say thank you for sharing that with me. This is new information, or I had a clue about this, so I appreciate you sharing. Can you give me examples? Ask them for examples, specific examples for when you have shown up in the way that they're saying that you have, so that you can take a look at that and not say that you adopt immediately what they're saying, but you do want to give yourself the space to be open to becoming better. And if there's something that is valid within what they're saying, is worth looking at. The next step is I want you to feel in your body when they're giving you this feedback. How do you feel? Do you feel like you want to cry? Do you want to clam up? Do you go silent? Do you start yelling? Do you find something else to do? Do you start walking around when somebody is telling you about yourself? What do you do? Begin getting in the space of observing yourself versus reacting and judging yourself. And just let that be. And this is a part of meditation. This is a part of deciding to show up for yourself differently without self-criticism, but with self-curiosity. But what is it that you do? How do you feel when you're giving that feedback? Can you listen with an open mind? The goal is to listen with an open mind and an open heart without taking offense to it, without it being that it's the end of the world for you or end of the world for them, or that you guys can't be friends, or that you guys can't be in a relationship, or you guys can't be at the job. The goal is to have the vulnerable, transparent conversation. The other piece is, if you're ready to express yourself, use I statements. Say, I felt hurt when you did X, Y, Z. I felt sad when you did X, Y, and Z. Versus you did this, you did that. Hopefully this person is also giving you the feedback in the same way. But if they're not, you be the leader and you demonstrate by example. If you're not ready to speak on the feedback, and you want to sit on it, another good tactic is, after you sit on it, go ahead and journal about it. Write down all your feelings, everything that you're feeling, whether it makes sense or not, and allow that. And you can look back at it a day later or 2 days later, put language next to it and something that you can communicate back to the person, so that you're being honest with yourself and with the other person, because you're worthy of that and so are they. And if you need to apologize, do so. Give context to what could have happened, what you weren't aware of, what you may have needed more of from them if that was necessary. But ultimately, apologize. Just say, I'm sorry. Because if it's someone that you really care for and love, I'm sorry is worth it. I apologize is worth it. And continue to work on what the thing is that they're telling you or are asking you to do. Now, I'm not for changing yourself completely to accommodate anybody, but if you're in relationships, there is compromise. So talk about that with that person. So masters, I just want to share that this is a topic that I hope that has helped you. It's okay that you are working through a behavioral shift or pattern and somebody has said something to you. Someone hopefully who loves you and cares for you has shared with you that they want you to work on. It's about progress, not perfection. And what I'm here to ultimately tell you is that you are so worth the work. You are so worth someone loving you enough to tell you the truth. You are so worth surrendering the control of trying to be perfect and trying to get the right answer and trying to be the person that other people want you to be. Even in your imperfections, you're perfect. So my hope is that you release this thought of feedback is going to shake me to my core. Be open to what other people are saying, who are trusted and who are saying the same thing, but they're not related. And I want you to pray about it, because the truth is if you kept this same behavior, what is it costing you? How is it impacting your health? How is it impacting your relationships? How is it impacting your money? How is it impacting who you know you can be in this world? Another piece is, once you go through it and you begin strengthening your muscle and facing yourself in this area, I want you to serve. I want you to recognize the other people who are dealing with the very thing that you have dealt with or just a little bit further ahead on. And I want you to talk to them. I want you to let them know that it's okay. Give them the things that work for you. Give them the tips to help. We are on this world and in this world, but we are not of it. You are perfect, whole, and complete as you are. And life has us thinking different. And sometimes we believe the illusion. You ain't the only one. Understand that you're worth the transformation. You're worth the self-acceptance. You're worth the self-compassion. It is safe for you to be seen, even if it's just between me and this screen right here. You and me and this screen. It's safe. You and your journal is safe. And as my prayer for you is that as you build up the courage to advocate for yourself, to receive feedback, and to share your thoughts, and also to apologize where needed, and even to yourself to apologize, that you will continue to be freed, that you'll be freed It's not just a one and done thing. You got to keep practicing. Masters, I want to pray for you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the person who is listening to this message. Thank you so much, Father, that you are allowing me to send the message of self-acceptance and self-compassion. And ultimately, Lord, point them back into your direction, because you are the healer of all wounds. You know their heart, their mind. You know where they've been and where they are and where they're going. I thank you so much, Lord, for the behavioral challenges that they're experiencing, Lord, because it just directs them back to you and allows you to refine them, to mold them, to comfort them, to shape them, to bring them into safety, Father. Allow them to know that they are safe in your arms, and give them the courage, the language, and the tools to go back into the earth, into the world, into their relationships, into their job, to communicate clearly and assertively with confidence, with love, and with hope, Father. Give them the language that they need to have the conversations that they need to have. Thank you so much for their desire to develop, and thank you so much for trusting me with them. In Jesus' mighty and matchless name, we pray. Amen. If you like this content, if this was a good topic for you, let me know. Talk to me in the comments. What would you like for me to do next? What do you want to talk about next?